It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Hi, Dave Despain with MAV TV, which is your television destination if you're looking for motorsports. Radio, you found it. You're listening to The Front Stretch.
Well, good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's today. Do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing. Again, joeskarting.com, karting with a K for more information. Joining us on the phone now is the current Race Saver 305 champion at Eagle Raceway, the Duke, Tyler Drueke, joining us. How you doing, bud?
Pretty good.
Glad to have you on the show. It's been quite a while since we've talked to you. I think the last time I might have actually talked to you, you just got engaged.
Yeah, that was lots happened between then and now, but not quite married yet. That'll come up in March. So.
I was going to say, are you still engaged? Did she break it off? Did she wise up?
No. I've been trucking all day, and I've been getting text messages about popcorn for receptions and everything else. So I guess that's the world I live in.
What's more complicated, getting ready for a race season or preparing for a wedding?
Oh, no brainer.
I've never done either, so I have no idea.
I would take building a race car over doing a wedding any day. I keep telling her I can't wait till it's done, just because I got a lot of other stuff going on besides the wedding part. But it's just a lot all at once.
There's a word out there that a lot of people like to think about at this phase in the preparation stage. It's called elope. Not called. The word is elope. There's a place over in the desert that'll 10 minutes. It's all behind you.
You can go downtown in Lincoln or in Omaha and do it in 10 minutes. You don't have to buy no plane ticket.
Well, the problem is that the way we're doing things is basically all my fault. So I really don't have anybody else but myself to blame. So
of course it's your fault.
Been pretty good and going along with everything. So yeah, I guess we'll just take it as it comes.
Well, that's all you can do. And again, congratulations. I think you guys got engaged one of the nights of the Race Saver Nationals a few years ago.
Yeah, no, I was racing and I got locked in. So the second night we went to the grandstands, and that's when that was the official night we started dating. And that was 3 years ago. And so then 2 years later, I just thought, that'd be a good date. I could remember that one. So it's just always right around the racing season. And so I could, they get mad at you if you forget important dates like that. So that was just how I had a little insurance for myself. So
I see.
That's like the meme that was on Facebook the other day. A little boy asked Grandpa, "Grandpa, how come you always call Grandma Honey?" Well, I forgot her name 5 years ago, and I'm afraid to ask her what it is.
See, you gotta have a reason behind everything.
Yeah.
Nobody has to know that reason.
Well, let's talk about 2018. You had a pretty good year. Not the great year at the Race Saver Nationals, but you were able to claim the track championship at Eagle Raceway again.
Yeah, no, it was really good. We set out at the start of the year. I wanted to go down to Cameron and race, and that was kind of my test and tune, I guess. I'd like to try some different things. Mm-hmm. We did some stuff with shocks, and then changed around the rear end and stuff, changed bars. I mean, I just went down there and tried different things, and then Matt Richards kept beating me, so I had to get a little more competitive. So, because I don't care if I'm trying stuff, I still want to win. But, so we learned some stuff down there, but hindsight's always 20/20. Doing as many races as I did, I have never raced the same shocks, the same car, the same motor. I've never had the same package and raced that many races with all the same stuff. Mm-hmm. Whereas in the past, I had two cars, or I'd bounce back and forth between 360 and 305. So my stuff didn't get wore out racing as many races. And hindsight's 20/20. I think we wore our stuff out, and that contributed to a little bit lackluster performance the second half of the year. And then the Race Saver Nationals, that was pretty much a debacle. So again, kind of like weddings. A lot of self-inflicted, nobody to blame but myself.
Yeah. Well, you recovered nicely, though. I mean, it like I said, picked up the track championship. You were able to hold off Adam Golian on the final night to win the championship and claim your second one. Winning one champion, I think you have more championships out of Eagle Raceway than just two, right?
That was the third year in a row.
Okay, so third year in a row. So, that's a feat in its own to be able to win that many championships. a lot of guys don't even get to say they win one. Very few get to say they have at least won one, but you've gotten 3 in a row.
Yeah, I like the history of Eagle Raceway and sprint car racing. You know, I grew up going there. We watched Dad race Friday Night Flyers on Friday night, and then we'd all get to go to the stands and watch the sprint cars on Saturday. So when I won the first one, that meant a lot to me. And then we won second, and that was the second one. That was really cool. And this year, it's kind of I don't want to say it's like stat stuffing, but it's, I guess, I don't know if it didn't mean as much to me. I don't want to seem ungrateful, but it was kind of an accomplishment that it's been there, done that kind of thing. I'm kind of looking for, I'd like to find a new challenge, I guess, so to speak, and keep, of course, if we go out and get beat this year, and I'm not, we'll talk about our plans a little later, but yeah, if we go out and get beat this year or something, you know, I guess I'm sure I'll be pretty eager to go again. But it's just kind of, it like talking, you always watch Jimmy Johnson or Donnie Schatz, and when them guys win over and over and over, it's just impressive that they can maintain their mental mindset where they're never satisfied. So that's kind of what I struggle against.
Yeah, speaking of that mental mindset, I was really impressed with you the last couple of weeks because you were having some mechanical issues, and that points lead was shrinking a little bit, but I never saw you stressed or freak or anything, you know, get outside of your head or get too far into your head. You just stayed even keel.
I'm glad it looks that way.
In public.
Because I think I wore the crew chief, Matt. I think I wore his phone out those last 2 weeks. But no, that I learned a lot of that in high school. We were successful with our sports teams in football and basketball, and we made the state tournament. And I had good teammates. You know, I was by no means a very good player. I just got to ride along for the ride, but we learned a lot of mental toughness. That's kind of what our coaches preached, and they learned a lot of that. And then mom and dad growing up, I was kind of goes back to the youth sports. I was never big. I was never the biggest. I was never the fastest, never the strongest, but you just kind of, I don't know, put your head down and just go and work as hard as you can and let the results fall where they may. But yeah, just there's a lot of things I'd like to do different, and it would have never got that close. And most of it is just keeping my stuff freshened up. Yeah. And I learned a lot this year, and hopefully it'll benefit us going forward. So second and maybe even a third car ready to go, right? Well, we trashed that one at the Nationals. I really didn't need to do that, but yeah, I got another one. So we're gonna have the three. I build my second car so that I can take it to a 360 race and run it, and then if something happens with the 305 car where I need it, we can just swap the motors and change the wing valve out, and then it's basically ready to go. So it's basically a race saver car with a wing valve and a 360 motor in it. Yeah, if I remember right, I don't think the Race Saver Nationals issue was. I'm sorry, what's that? If I remember right, I don't think the issue at the 305 Nationals was much to do of your fault. Yeah, but you put yourself in a bad spot. You know, I've heard. I had a crew chief growing up, and he used to run around with Kenny Woodruff, and I think when Dave Blaney was racing, and Dave got crashed over at Knoxville, and my old crew chief, he used to say that night that Kenny told him, "Well, you're messing around in the back of the B main, you deserve to get wrecked." So I kind of always used the same approach. If we did our job, I wouldn't have been in the back of the C. Well, I would have been locked in from the night before, but I didn't do my job. I finished 10th, so I had to run again on Saturday. We didn't do our job in the heat race and ran, I don't know, 3rd or something, and so I was in the back of a C, and that's just kind of things happen when you're in the C, D, E. You know, it's just if you stay up front, then you tend to stay clean.
Yeah, the non-politically correct way to say that is if you're running with the squirrels, you're going to get your nuts cracked.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to say it, but yeah, I've learned that the two guys that started that deal, they don't seem to get along, and so I guess I might say a few different words if I got to talk to them again. Like, hey, both you guys rolled your car in the trailer, but because you two can't get along, thanks for destroying mine. Yeah. But, you know, it is what it is. I haven't known you very long, and apparently I've been fooled by your demeanor before, but I think that was probably the maddest I've ever seen you. See, everybody thinks I was mad that night, but my head was hurting. I wasn't that mad. I was pretty subdued in the moment, but
Well, I was talking about right after.
Grab,
I thought the track officials had to kind of hold you back a little bit.
Well, no, they were holding him up.
Yeah, they keep grabbing a hold of your arm, and they won't let you go, and sometimes you just kind of walk.
Yeah.
They won't let you do. Just give me a little space. I didn't throw no punches. I didn't even raise my voice. All I did was walk over and say, "Hey, what the heck was that?" And that was about it.
Don't worry, we got a bleep button if you need to use it.
No, I'm good. But no, right. my head was hurting there. I wasn't in a mood to be yelling.
Yeah, you took a pretty good lick there when you destroyed your car, but we'll put that in the past. Let's talk about the future. Not only are you planning a wedding, but you're also planning to defend your title and move up farther in the Race Saver National finishing spots. So talk about your what exactly you have planned out for 2019.
My plans are still kind of up in the air. If things come together the way that I want them to, I'd really like to go and run the full Nebraska 360 deal,
really?
and kind of get back into that. Just faster cars, more competition, and do that. But I only got one motor for that, and I've already ran it a few nights. So I think they had 18 races on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, the way I figure it, I can just barely be able to do that. But we'll see. The other option we were talking about is maybe just chasing the bigger money shows. And I know I gave up going to the Belleville race last year to stay at Eagle because we were in a position to win another track championship. So, racing, there's nothing wrong with racing for points. I love racing for championships. That's why it's hard for me to commit to something because I just my style, I like winning championships. I like winning races along the way,
mm-hmm.
but it's the way we do things and the way I guess my mental approach is, and what makes me happy or satisfied is winning a championship, and I'd like to try and win the 360 deal again. But I got to get wheels and get my motor stuff right and get my cars built and get them right, and we probably won't have the nicest stuff or the most high dollar stuff, but I think I've learned over the years you don't need a lot of that stuff to win races. It takes a good motor, good shocks, good wings, good bars, and a good driver, and you can basically win. You don't need all brand new stuff.
And it takes a lot of good nights in the shop on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
And that's where my crew comes in. Matt Zaz and Dustin Gertis and my dad and my brother, they help out a lot. Brandy and my mom, they help a lot with just getting stuff ready for the racetrack that I don't have to worry about. We can just worry about getting the car ready and making sure we have everything. So we got good people around us, and that makes a big difference.
I bet that's got to be a huge weight off your shoulders to know you can show up to the track and they have everything buttoned up.
I am very, very lucky to have, especially Matt Zaz in my corner. He's probably the best guy in the pit area just as a person, and he'll call me. I read something on the internet, and he's always reading and learning, and that's what it takes. And we talk and we have different ideas, and I usually tend to get pretty aggressive, I guess, and he's maybe more on the conservative side. So it seems like our personalities, we meet in the middle somewhere, and we're usually pretty good. So very, very lucky, and doesn't go unnoticed.
Well, we've talked about those great crewmen you have, supporters you have. Let's talk about some of the great sponsors that help pay the bills.
Yeah, I'm very, very lucky for everybody. I tell everybody all the time, we may not be the most well-funded team, but I think we're the biggest team around it in terms of all the people we have. Valco Wheels, Drueke Trucking and Ranch, Zaz Farms, Jeffries Trucking, Piccadilly Rose Hill Ranches, Johnson Farms, Angels Energy Service, Agri Builders, True Trucking, Eggert Towing, TD Signs and Graphics, Double Z Express, Jim Bell, Gordon Electric, Cornhusker 800, the Haynes Family, Sardison Racing, Icon Pistons, Baya Headers, Competition Suspension, J&J Auto Racing, Speedway Motors Racing Engines. It all comes together. My mom and dad are a big part of it too. It all comes together. We got a pretty sweet package, but it takes everybody, and so.
Yeah, I think you're one of the few guys that can rattle that off at the top of their head. Because you and I have had that conversation. I mean, it's amazing how well you know that your sponsor list.
Well,
No.
It's really unfortunate the racing community gets a bad rap because some guys they work hard to get a sponsor, but then they get a sponsor and then they forget about them.
Yeah.
And they forget about them until next winter when they're calling them for money. I try to do things during the year, call them, talk to them. Some of my guys will call me, you know. I drive truck for a living, so I got a lot of windshield miles during the week before we even decide to get in the truck to go to the racetrack. So I got lots of time to talk during the week. So
I was just going to say, my best way to prep for the show is to drive to and from the radio station, and I basically just talk the whole time to myself. I can only imagine what people driving next to me think I'm doing.
Well, if you haven't noticed, they do the little race day videos.
Yeah.
Usually when I come up with something goofy, it's because I'm sitting in the truck waiting in line or something, and I got lots of time. So if I'm busy and I ain't got so much time on my hands, that's probably when my race day videos fall off a little bit. So.
And you're good with sponsor appearances too. That's something I'm really surprised that not a lot of drivers do. Is they'll take the race car and the race team and they'll go out and show up at a sponsor's business for a grand opening, a special, some sort of an event. You do a really good job with that too.
Well, that's important. You know, there's only so many people that come to the actual races. You can go to somebody's business and they see a race car sitting out there, and if it looks clean and it looks professional, it kind of catches their eye.
Oh yeah.
Then the next idea is the next part of it is you got to be personable so you can talk to those people. You come up and you just explain to them what you do. I mean, I love telling everybody how much I love racing, you know. So it's not just my deal. It's also helping promote racing too while you're doing those things, and you're promoting the business. So all sides can win when you do those things. It's just you got to convince people that it's a benefit and you can help them.
Yeah, and you've done a great job helping one of our sponsors out, Quaker Steak and Lube, when they do their Touch-A-Truck events. You've gone down a couple of times and let kids sit in the car and take some pictures.
Yeah, I was wore out after that Touch-A-Truck event. That was the first time I did it, and there's a lot of kids that come to that. And I started picking them up and putting them in the car, and after you lift, I don't even know how many kids, and they're probably all 50 to 70 pounds or something. And, I should have rethought that before I started doing that.
So you're saying don't bother calling you with the next one.
Or fab up a little ladder or set of stairs or something for them.
Yeah, I'm going to have to plan a little better than that. But that was a lot of fun, and they do a great job out there doing that, and it seems like the kids really enjoyed it. So, I'll have to plan a little better for that next time.
Well, and the good news is maybe when you get this whole wedding in March finished up, then you can start working on the other aspects of your future, and maybe you'll be able to get some practice of lifting another kid in a year or two.
You're not helping my cause. I keep telling Brandy that we need 2 410 motors before we start having kids.
Danny,
I get the big old backhand to the chest after that. So.
Danny said he's got a good crew. He doesn't need any more crewmen.
All right, buddy.
I know how this kids thing, you take them to the racetrack, next thing you know, they want a race car, and I know how much those cost, so I can already see how this is going to turn out.
And that's it for Dad driving.
Well, maybe I just might have to, I don't know. I grew up racing mini sprints, so you never know. I've thought about it, but that's a long ways off. I don't want to think too hard.
Let's not stress you out. We're supposed to have fun today.
That's right.
All right, buddy. We appreciate you joining us. Have a great off season, and we'll talk again here in a couple of weeks when we get ready for the season opener at Eagle.
Sounds good. We'll see you there. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Tyler.
Thanks, Tyler.
Bye. Tyler Drueke, driver of the number 12, Race Saver 305. Good to hear he's going to try to run the 360s if he's able to get that engine worked out. So good information there from Tyler Drueke. You can follow him on Facebook. Drueke Racing is a great way to get some information. Drueke Racing, Drueke. I screw that up every time because of the first E. I don't ever type that in there, and so it always autocorrects it for me. So Tyler Drueke Racing, appreciate him joining us. We're going to take a break. We'll be back here shortly. Jacob Hobscheidt still to come on the front stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Hey, this is Clint Boyer, driver of the Ford Fusion Rush Truck Centers, number 14. And you're listening to the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch, rolling into turn number 2, and it's time to talk to one of the young guns in the area. Started off racing karts all throughout the area, jumped up into sport mods for a few years, and now he is driving the 01U modified. The Hooterville Hustler, Jacob Hobscheidt, joining us. How you doing, bud?
How are you?
We are definitely doing well. You're telling us that you're down in Nashville, Tennessee. Are you giving up the racing industry for a recording album?
Yeah, I'm trying to, I guess. Actually came on a family vacation. We started off in Florida, and then we came to Nashville for the weekend. So
awesome. That's a lot better than my family vacations. My family vacations were, let's go to Omaha.
Right.
Literally, that was my family vacation several years in a row, which is fine. We had fun.
Hey,
That's all that matters.
Down there in Nashville now, you know Jimmy Nichols is living down there now, don't you?
yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, they're actually just south of Nashville. I want to say it's in Franklin, but hit him up on Facebook. They take Jake down now. Jake's like 13, and he goes and sings down at that Tootsie's all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure we will probably hook him up.
Well, that'll be fun. Have a good trip down there. But let's talk about what happened in the 01U this year. Did you think you had a pretty good season? Because I kind of feel like you did.
I would say it was pretty good, but it was definitely more my most consistent year I've probably had for a long time, I would say.
This was your second full season in the A-Mod, right?
Correct, yes.
Coming up from the sport mods, and you're able to pick up a couple of wins. I believe you've got a win or two in the A-Mods?
Yeah, I think I've got around 3 or 4, but yeah, I would say this year was probably the most consistent year out of it, because I would say we probably only had about 2 DNFs, but probably had around 30 top 5s and more. Probably had 50 top 10s too, because we raced around probably 100 nights this year.
Wow!
So
you won that King of the Hill style deal too at Eagle early in the year, didn't you? Right in the spring.
Yeah, that was very unexpected to win that deal. The amount of talent and the drivers that were in that, it was crazy to win. But yeah, that was probably my most exciting win ever.
Yeah, that was definitely fun to watch. Because like you just talked about, and you didn't really touch on it too much, Hunter Marriott and Jordan Grabowski were right there waiting to jump on you, and you raced a flawless race.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But, yeah, I really appreciate those guys putting that on, because it was a really fun deal. And then we got to go down to Texas for it and kind of made a vacation out of that as well. But that deal, we ran the Dirt Dominator down there and finished 3rd out of the top 16 drivers that were locked into that. And then they also had a show down there, a regular show that paid $5,000 to win. And we were running the B and got taken out. So didn't go as planned for that, but the Dirt Dominator part went very well.
That's a cool thing, and we'll probably hopefully see it back for that again in 2019.
Yeah, I would hope so. They talked about it, but I guess we'll find out.
Raced weekly at a couple of tracks. Can you talk about your weekly racing?
Weekly racing, I would say it was rough on us. I would say at I-80, because, I would honestly say we have probably the toughest group of modified drivers in the area racing at I-80.
Yeah.
And it's pretty hard to run in the top 5. So, but everywhere else we pretty much ran top 3 at, other than I-80. But we still had pretty good runs, and not something to hang our head about.
Yeah, it's tough. It was tough going for a lot of drivers at I-80 this year. I think Anthony Roth pretty much had that championship locked up from week 3.
Right.
Is that something that you kind of you look at and you just say, man? Is there things that you could do better, or is you just got to keep learning?
Kind of both. We really didn't get our setup down till really the Cornhusker Classic, I would say. We pretty much struggled all year just trying to find a sweet spot, and really didn't get it till the Cornhusker. So we're really excited for 2019 and hoping it brings good luck.
Now, I get a lot of kick out of these guys. Just like you say, you found the sweet spot in that car. So what typical drivers would do is now they go and sell it, and they got to figure out the sweet spot for a new car. Did you buy a new car, or are you going to use the old one?
Well, I sold the old car, but I got the car that I ran at the Cornhusker. I plan on running that all 2019.
Okay, so that's going to be your primary car?
Yes.
All right. Where are you planning on racing for 2019?
I plan on racing I-80 every week, Friday nights, and then hopefully hitting up every special we can around the area, and then traveling like we did this year too. We had a lot of fun going to places like Vegas and Wisconsin and stuff like that. So we're kind of eyeing the North Dakota mod tour. We want to hit that up this year. So
I know that a lot of drivers find a lot of experience in doing that, jumping around to other tracks. While you're locked in on Friday nights to I-80, like you just said, you're going around and racing other tracks, so you're getting a ton of experience.
Right. I mean, it's the amount of, competition's so much better. Going out and doing that stuff too. So you learn a lot more, and then you come back to places like I-80 and you feel like you do way better, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yep.
Seat time. Nothing beats seat time.
Right.
Do you get to do much of the iRacing like a lot of these guys are doing?
I actually don't have that. I kind of just watch my buddies and then watch videos on Facebook.
So if you're going to a track and somebody's posted videos about the track, you're able to watch those?
Actually, whenever I ran that Dirt Dominator deal at Eagle, the whole night before, I walked down to my PlayStation 2 and I turned it on and I played, Saturday Night Speedway, I think the game is.
Yeah.
Which has Eagle on it, and I raced on that for probably 3 hours.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped? Do you think that contributed?
I think so, honestly, because I ran the same exact line as I did on PlayStation.
Yeah. Just listen, let me tell you, the PlayStation only goes so far. Just ask Carl Edwards.
Yeah. We all remember that one, don't we?
Yeah. Well, you got to get hooked up with that iRacing. Before you know it, you could be winning championships if you get that.
Right. Yeah, I think I probably should.
Yeah. I know a guy that can help you with that.
So what's with stealing the old man's nickname?
Oh.
You need to put like a 2.0 or something on that.
Right. Well, that nickname came from when he was around my age. He was in a bar, and he actually was playing pool, and some guy walked up, laid his bet down, and my dad said that, well, let's put your car on the line, and they played for his car, and that's how he won his first race car, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who was the victim?
I don't remember the guy's name, but...
That's how some of this silliness started?
That's how it happened, I guess.
And so from there, he was known as the Hooterville Hustler?
Yes, sir.
Huh.
Crazy.
It's always fun learning those those nicknames, where those came from.
Right.
Well, talk a little bit more in depth about some of your races. I know you talked about you're going to do the weekly racing at I-80 and kind of bounce around a little bit, but some of the definite specials you're going to hit that people can bring out their junior Hooterville Hustler shirts.
Well, we'll probably start off the year racing Beatrice, the Spring Nationals, and then jump over to Hayes for I believe it's the Fall Classic, I think it is. And then after that, I think we will probably be going to Eagle for the Icebreaker. And then I believe weekly racing starts up after that, and then we'll be weekly racing for a little bit, and then should be back to those special races around our area. And then towards the end of the year, we'll be jumping around again. Hopefully hit up Vegas, like I said, but if not, hopefully we had a good year to reflect on.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about racing weekly at Eagle?
I have, but we were actually talking about it last night, to be honest with you, but we'll have to see how it goes. And I hear it's pretty rough racing at Eagle weekly, but that's something we got to find out on our own, I would say.
It's definitely survival of the fittest.
That's what I hear.
I mean, you got to have your stuff in a group. I mean, you got to. Who was it we were talking to a couple of weeks ago? Said they tore that car down every week.
Jet.
Yeah, Johnny Sadoff said every single week they tear that car down and make sure everything's to snuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't know if he does it or if he makes Jackson do it, but
well, he's probably. I'm sure he's been around long enough. He's got several guys helping him, and I'm sure this guy here's got a few helping him. I know Shane's helping you out, isn't he? Still?
Oh yeah, here and there a little bit. Yeah.
Who else is on that crew down in the 01U pit every week?
Well, it's me, my dad. We get Shane to come down, and then my cousin Tony. He just started helping out last year. I get him to do a couple tires every now and then scrape the car when he gets to go racing with me too. So, and then Brandon Salzman, he comes down and helps me quite a bit too.
Good crew of guys. What about some of the sponsors that help you out?
Yeah. Made up a list.
What do you mean? Yeah.
Here we go.
We gotta wait for them to pay up first.
That's why we can edit.
I got to thank GRT Race Cars, Fusion Custom Trailers, Tuffy Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue, NW Transfer.
Roadkill down at Tuffy's.
Yeah. Klotz Synthetic Lubricants, Henry Hobscheidt Motors, Hills Sales and Services, Wreckers for Checkers Bar, Recovery Room Hot Rod Interiors, Dirt Track Specialist, Trucker CPA, and then my 2 supporters aside from my parents, Dwayne Hobscheidt and Don Stubbe.
Of course, the parents, they got to be up on that list too, right? I mean,
Oh yeah, got to thank them.
Your mom and dad. I mean, can you imagine how much they? Can you imagine as much as they do? I mean, to help you out, it's a lot of sacrifice.
It's crazy, but I mean, it's a hobby my dad did, and I mean, he kind of knows. So I mean,
yeah, it's a great bonding opportunity too.
Right. I mean, it's always either me or him, and then usually we get into a fight, and then it's just.
I was just gonna say it. This is starting to sound like the Ledger family.
I mean, towards the end of the season, we were finally, leave me alone and I won't talk to you. But towards the beginning, it was pretty crazy.
Well, have fun in Nashville.
Yeah, right.
I'm glad I could hash some old stuff up.
We're always picking on each other, but we have a fun time. And
yeah.
We always laugh about it.
There was a guy that came and worked with my dad and I. We used to work at the farm, and he stopped us one afternoon. He goes, "Do you guys communicate any other way than yelling at each other?" And my dad goes, "No, that's just how we talk. We just yell at each other." I think it's just a father-son thing. Especially for you. You're coming into your own. You gotta kind of stand your ground a little bit and prove that you know what you're doing. So
right.
whether you do or not.
You're right. I feel like if we're not picking on each other, then we're not getting along.
Well, make sure to tell your parents hi for me. We can't wait to see you guys in a couple of weeks at the I-80 banquet. You guys are going to be there, right?
Oh, yeah, we'll be there.
Good deal. All right. And whenever you turn 21, I got to get you that beer.
That'll be for a couple more years.
I'm sure he's already had one.
No, sir.
Yeah, I'm sure if you do that now, nothing will be frowned upon.
All right. Like I said, have a good time down in Nashville. Best of luck to you this season, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
Thanks, Jacob.
You too.
Jacob Hobscheidt, driver of the 01U modified around the area. I always love the colors of his car. A nice baby blue and a beautiful looking car.
No, that's the Hooterville Hustler colors, that baby blue. So
Okay.
that's the family color.
Follow him on Facebook, Jacob Hobscheidt Racing. That's a tough one to spell, but you'll be able to find it. That autofill search comes in pretty nicely.
Get the HOB and you're probably good.
Jacob Hobscheidt Racing. Appreciate Jacob joining us. We're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 3.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the home of MAV TV, featuring action from the Lucas Oil Late Model Series.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Hey, I'm Joey Logano, driver number 22, Shell Penzo Ford, and you're listening to The Front Stretch.
Welcome back to it. Rolling into turn number 3. Want to say a big thank you to Tyler Drueke and Jacob Hobscheidt for joining us in turns 1 and 2. Want to apologize to the Roy Armstrong fans who joined us. Not able to make a connection with Roy. How some of those things work. He's a working man, and I'm kind of an oddball hour kind of a guy. So we're going to keep working on that. We'll get Roy on the show here in the next week or two.
Yeah, when you make those plans over a couple beers at 4 in the morning, it gets a little rough to get them.
I don't know what you're talking about. I plead the 5th.
You were drinking that. Okay.
On the advice of counsel, I refuse to answer that question. Hey, speaking of
speaking of needing counsel.
Yeah, there's a bit of a weird situation that's going on down at Tulsa for the Tulsa shootout. A couple of our friends are down there. A couple of listeners are down there. Some drivers that we know are hanging out down there. There's been an interesting thing that kind of developed, Wednesday night's races, and then kind of hit all over Facebook on Thursday. So apparently 5 drivers that had finished in the tech inspection during the qualifying races had their fuel tested and were deemed illegal. Now, I'm sure more than 5 drivers were tested, but I know of 5 drivers that their fuel was illegal. One of the drivers caused a bit of a ruckus and said,
he didn't cause a ruckus. He just said, look.
He went over to the tech officials and said, hey, I bought that fuel from this track, from you guys. How is it illegal? And they rolled the barrel right over to the tech inspection line. They tested the barrel of fuel, and sure as enough, it tested illegal. And I think they tested other fuel that they hadn't sold yet, and it tested illegal. So what an interesting situation, because you hear about guys getting DQ'd all the time. And something that, I guess not all the time, but you hear fuel issues pop up every once in a while during a season.
Yeah, I just, I'm taking it. I'm not a huge guy into the midget end of it, but I'm going to take it that they're running methanol just like they would in a sprint car. That just kind of, to me, makes sense with that type of racing. I don't know what their parameters are on it because I've never done fuel testing of that. I've done fuel testing for all kinds of racing gas and know the ins and outs of that, but I do not know the ins and outs of the methanol testing. So I really can't comment on this one, but it just seems odd that if the track has all these barrels of fuel that they're selling, because and the reason guys get to the track and buy their fuel there is because there's all kinds of goofy interstate transportation of fuel laws.
Right.
And I remember guys, when they'd come up to a Busch All-Star Tour race at Park Jefferson in South Dakota, several guys getting like $300 tickets because they had 4 or 5 jugs of fuel lined up in their trailer, and they'd hit the weigh station right into South Dakota, and the South Dakota guys make them dump the fuel out and give them a ticket. So they were having to dump out, $100, $200 worth of fuel and get a ticket on top of it.
Yeah.
And that's just crazy.
I know that we got into a little bit of an issue. I shouldn't say we. The I-80 got into a little bit of an issue at the Charlie Clark when 2 of the drivers that they tested failed according to their parameters. And after they consulted some tech officials over at Adams County Speedway, some tech officials with IMCA, they ended up discovering that Iowa and Nebraska have slightly different fuel additive laws. As far as Nebraska is supposed to be, and it's one of the things that opened up my eyes to it, because Iowa is usually a nickel to 8 cents cheaper per gallon than Nebraska is, and this makes sense. Why? Is because Nebraska has tighter regulations to where you're not able to have as much impurities in the fuel. So Iowa's able to produce it cheaper because their gas stations are. Well, it turns out both of these drivers were just driving through Iowa and they filled up their jugs. And they went over to a Nebraska race, and they happened to pop illegal. But they didn't modify their fuel any. It sat right in the parameters for what Iowa fuel will test. And so they were able to – so they're kind of the same thing. I-80 held on to the announcement for a while and then got all this information and said, okay, we're deeming it legal. These guys are perfectly fine. Just be a little bit more a little wiser now. And you see Joe Koziski carrying barrels of fuel around the back of his truck, selling them to guys because – he could verify that's a clean barrel of fuel.
Well, it's a little bit different when they're buying pump gas as opposed to buying, a racing fuel.
Right.
And even though you said Iowa gas is cheaper, I was just in Council Bluffs this afternoon, and I'm in Omaha now, and it's 14 cents more in Council Bluffs.
Where at? Where are you getting fuel at?
I didn't buy any over there, but I went by the Shell station on.
That one's terrible. That one is absolutely terrible. It's 10 cents more expensive than any other station in town.
Well, the other day I was over by the Apple Barrel, and it was $1.99 over there, and it's $1.93 in Omaha.
Yeah.
So
it's typically within 5 cents to 8 cents difference. Right now, with the way the fuel's dropping, though, Iowa's dropping slower than Nebraska is, and so I play that game every day when I drive by the Casey's on 23rd Avenue going to work. And I'm like, okay, $1.93. I've got a little less than a quarter of a tank. Get over to Iowa or get over to Nebraska over by work. And busy area over here where we're at. And it's $1.92 or $1.91. And I'm like, I'm taking that couple cents.
Yeah, and Nebraska just their gas tax just went up on the first of the year, 1.6 cents or something like that. Yep, just
for
happened.
All those roads.
Yeah,
does it go towards all those roads?
Yeah, that's going to go towards the pothole repair that they haven't done from 2015 yet.
I tell you what, those poor construction workers. Those guys that have to fill all those potholes after the winter. They're busy for a month, but God bless them. So, interesting situation going on down in Tulsa. We will do our best to keep you guys updated with everything that's going on as the results finish and stuff kind of unfolds. We're going to try to get somebody on the show from there to give their side of the story, because I always hate just doing one side of a story because it can get pretty convoluted pretty quickly.
You mean the stupid side of the story? That's just really odd. It really is.
I got to imagine it was just a miscommunication at somewhere, because their statement said that they had misunderstood the way to use their testing equipment.
Well, that could very well be. They might have tested wrong.
And so when the fuel got tested from their stockpile, it's still tested illegal, but it was legal fuel. They were just using the parameters wrong.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see what's going on, and that kind of seems like one of those things. Such a big race. That's an interesting thing to have pop up.
Well, and, that's why when you go to like Boone for the IMCA Nationals, or you go to the 305 Race Savers, you see tech officials from all over the place. Mm-hmm. You don't just see that track's tech officials, because if there's a mistake, hopefully if you've got enough eyes, you're going to catch it.
Right. And mistakes happen all the time.
Absolutely.
It's human error.
And we're good at that. Humans in general, boy, we love to err.
Banquets still to come. Eagle Raceway was last night. I-80 Speedway's coming up January 26th. The night before that's going to be the Carperland, Nebraska 360 banquet. I know tickets for both of those are still on sale. But you talked about, I think I had messaged Lisa that tickets are getting pretty slim for the I-80 Speedway banquet. So if you want to get involved in that, it's a great night of fun. You get to see a lot of fun drivers and have a couple of beers and some really good food. But getting tickets to I-80 Speedway's banquet, you might want to get those pretty quickly if you want to get involved. And then Nebraska 360 banquet going on again, like I said, the Friday, January 25th. So those tickets are available via Facebook or My Race Pass. You can check those out.
Is that a Friday or a Saturday?
Friday. The 25th is a Friday, 26th is a Saturday. Because they're back-to-back banquets.
And January 19th is a Saturday, I believe, and I believe that is our Quaker Steak and Lube Chili Bowl.
Yes, it is.
Get together.
We got approval on that from Quaker Steak and Lube, so they're getting everything ready to go for us. We're going to work on getting you some specials, and then I meant to get the event page posted this week, but the week has gotten away from me. I tell you, I saw this new joke going around Facebook of there's that zone between Christmas Day and New Year's Day that you really don't know who you are and what day it is. I fell into that so hard this year.
Well, so did I, because for me, it's my dialysis schedule got thrown out. I was, if we'd have tried to do a live show the last couple of weeks, I'd have missed it because I was in dialysis on Sunday morning, and that was just really weird.
Yeah.
And Sunday morning TV stinks. Compared to Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I actually got something I want to watch on there. But, my whole body, my brain, everything, like I called you and asked you about something, and I asked if you were sitting down first because I said, hey, I forgot something.
Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back in turn number 4. We're going to wrap the show up with not a surprised announcement.
It's not a surprise, not announcement.
It's so slow in the world of news. We're going to take a break. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around their professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Hey, Sprint Car fans, this is Shaylee Bade, the driver of the 03 U.S. Army Hellgate Construction Sprint Car. You're listening to the front stretch.
Welcome back to it. Just about ready to wrap this baby up. Turn 4 brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch, and the home of the Chili Bowl viewing party, the Daytona 500 viewing party, the Mud Summer Classic viewing party, and the Homestead viewing party.
And any other time, we decide to stop in there and view a party.
Which is quite often, frankly. They've got some amazing food, great beer specials, great wings available today for all the NFL action.
And a new Thursday special that I just saw on Facebook for the first time, $10 Thursdays.
They've been doing that since midsummer. Actually, at the beginning of summer, that was their new special during Classic Car Cruisins.
Yeah, well, it's like a used car. It's new to me.
Right, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. Get over to Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs today. While you're over there, you can head over to Joe's Karting and do a little bit of indoor kart racing. Appreciate those two helping us out with sponsorship in 2018 and 2019 and beyond.
I saw on Facebook the other day they got a new track record over at Joe's Karting.
Did you see the video of the lady that surprised her kids with coming home for Christmas?
That I did.
The soldier from had been overseas told them that she wasn't going to make it home for Christmas. Landed at Epley, drove over to Joe's Karting. They arranged to have the kids go to the Joe's Karting, and they just thought they were there with their dad to do a little bit of karting. And out of the helmet comes their mom. And the tear, kind of the tough one was that watching the teenage boy that I'm sure probably hadn't cried in a long time was all sorts of teared up because he finally got to see his mom. So that was something really cool. You can see that on the Joe's Karting YouTube or the Joe's Karting Facebook page. You can get that information.
Yeah, unless he was like Billy Bob, and Billy Bob's a crier. That's what Billy Bob does.
Especially when it comes to mama. You cry when it's mama. We still don't have a formal announcement, but there's starting to be rumors that we'll get an official announcement probably sometime early this week. That Daniel Suarez will be the driver for the number 41 at Stewart-Haas Racing. Adam Stern tweeted out, at Stewart-Haas Racing, number 41 car driver announcement is likely to come early this week. Early next week is when he tweeted it, mid-time last week. So that mean Monday or Tuesday. That information comes per a person familiar with the situation. Then he tweets back, as long been speculated, it is expected to be Daniel Suarez. And then his next one says the precise sponsorship plans are not clear yet, but Eris is expected to be a part of the mix. His wording is interesting to me there because I figured Eris would be the full-time sponsor. But it sounds like they're going to be, to me, I get the feeling of maybe 10, 12, 15 races.
Yeah, well, it's hard to say because, when you put in mix, I mean, you could have 6 guys do one race apiece and they do 30.
Yeah.
They're still part of the mix. But they didn't say they'd be the primary sponsor on the car.
Right. And I think that's right. That's why I'm kind of keen on a little bit there is that the wording they used makes me feel like it's not going to be a majority. But, it's just a gut feeling to how this stuff works out. Brian Blaney is going to be on Magnum PI for the January 20th episode, airing right after the AFC Championship game on CBS TV. Blaney, in all of his mustachioed glory, will be on Magnum PI. So make sure you tune in for that and pay attention to what's going on there. We talked a little bit about Rick Ware Racing supposedly going to multiple cars. Well, it was confirmed a few weeks back that the team does plan to yield 2 Cup cars and an Xfinity Series car in 2019.
Yeah, and they picked up another charter.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be in the shows, as long as they get the car to the shows. And we have put a word into them to try and get somebody from Rick Ware Racing to talk to us and, see what we can talk about there.
Something that also circulated around the interwebs on Thursday was the announcement that Roush Fenway Racing was going to be closing down their Xfinity operation in 2019. They would not be fielding a car. And the first thing that came to my mind when I read that article was, boy, they just continue to circle the wagons and nothing is helping. They continue to have funding issues. They continue to have performance issues. They continue to have issues fielding quality cars. And I think this is another sign that they had expanded out during the good times when sponsorships were ample, when they had talented drivers and they had talented people working for them. Not to say they don't now. Those guys are highly talented when it comes to me. But they continue to, it feels like, circle the wagons and say we're gonna focus on 1 or 2 Cup Series teams, and that's all we can focus on because we don't want to divert away from that.
Well, they started the Xfinity Series program back then when it was in the Busch Series. It was in '93 when they got started. Mark Martin won a bunch of races for Jack Roush in the Busch car back then, and who would have been the last Busch Series champion out of their garage?
Stenhouse?
Carl Edwards won one. Stenhouse, Buescher.
Stenhouse won 2. I
Chris
don't think
Buescher might have been.
Did he win it?
Yeah, he might have been the last winner. But it
But
had been him or Stenhouse.
Race winner or championship?
Championship.
I didn't think Buescher won one, but maybe he did.
He won it in 15, I'm
just
thinking.
before he moved up full time, right?
Right.
With JTG Doherty.
Correct.
So maybe it was him.
But, so they won a lot of championships. They had a very successful program.
Right.
And so to see that go away, obviously it's terrible for the sport, as a whole.
You don't like seeing a big team like that or a famous team like that, a historical team like that, shrinking to this method.
Well,
and I think Xfinity teams are incredibly useful when you've got a successful Cup organization.
Correct.
You can learn some things on Saturday you can apply on Sunday. You can develop talent on Saturday that you can that you can eventually use on Sunday. And I'm not just talking about drivers. I'm talking about over-the-wall guys, engineers, car chiefs, crew chiefs,
everybody,
tire chain, everybody. I mean, you can really use that as a farm league. And I think a lot of Cup Series teams do that.
Well, and you see a lot of the Cup drivers, NASCAR's cut it back to where they can only run a handful of races during the year. But you see, especially some of these young drivers, you see Blaney in Penske cars, you'll see him, what do they run, the 12 and the 22 in the Xfinity, I think. Mm-hmm. And you'll see, guys jumping in and out of those cars. You'll see Joey Logano in it once in a while. You'll see Brad Keselowski in it once in a while. But you see Ryan Blaney in there as much as he can, trying to get track time at tracks that he struggles at in the Cup car,
right?
Trying to learn something. Mm-hmm. You see the same thing with junior motorsports cars and Hendricks drivers running in and out of those.
To your point to that, it's the reason why we don't see a lot of Cup drivers come down to Iowa anymore is because they're restricted on the amount of cars that they can, or races they can race at. And if they're going to use a race, while they would love to go and race Iowa because everybody raves about how great of a track it is to drive,
how fun,
they need to go to a track that is more like in the playoffs or a track that they struggle at.
Well, it's going to be a track that they're racing at because for years, like the one Iowa race has always been on a Pocono weekend. Mm-hmm. So they go up and they qualify at Pocono and then they fly in here and race on Saturday type thing. And with them not being able, with them having to pick and choose races, that's just throw that race out the window. We're better off, hey, we got both classes running Charlotte this week. Let's run here, or we're at Texas, or we're at Bristol. Wherever you've got a twofer.
We're still getting caught up on some news and notes because we've been kind of out of the loop a little bit lately with the holiday weekend or the holiday season. But Casey Kane announced several weeks back that he is going to be racing he expects to be competing in more than 50 sprint car events on both the World of Outlaw and All-Star circuits of Champion Tours. So, unfortunately, neither of those series coming to Nebraska in 2019. It doesn't look like we're going to have a 410 race in the state of Nebraska for another year.
Yeah, and that probably won't change. A lot of times they can add a race, but you get up to those 410 series, and they don't do a lot of adding. Mm-hmm. But sticking along with NASCAR drivers running the dirt, Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell are tearing it up down under.
Literally and figuratively. Christopher Bell tore up his car, rolled on Wednesday night, Thursday.
Wednesday night, I believe.
It gets really hazy when you're talking about Australia, so it could have been Wednesday night to us. It could have been Tuesday to them. Who knows? But
it might have been last year even. No, it was this year.
He rolled his car early in a race, but was able to keep it going and came back and fought Kyle Larson pretty hard for a great finish of a race.
Yeah.
And you could see those races on Speed Shift TV, by the way, if you want to catch any of that stuff. Speed Shift is broadcasting a lot of those races, so... Landon Castle announced he's going to be in the Chili Bowl field for the January 19th race. So another NASCAR driver and another local driver that we can cheer for down in Oklahoma.
Well, hopefully he'll be in the January 19th race because that's a tough feature to crack, and it's going to be his first try. And I don't know how much midget racing he's ever done. I mean, I know he came up through go-karts and stuff, but I don't know how much midget stuff he's done.
Well, it'll be, boy, that way that guy drives, it's probably not going to take him much to figure out how to drive it. Oh. He's a smart driver. I always like talking to him.
Hey, speaking one more thing, did you see our buddy Zach Ralston doing some kart racing in Daytona? Did you see that?
I missed that.
Racing on the big speedway with shifter carts.
Really?
And
are those things able to go fast enough to stay stuck in the corners?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Well, he had a cam on.
Okay.
Okay. So he's got this video, and I was reading about what he was writing on this video, and he decided to jump into another class where he was down on horsepower and et cetera, et cetera.
He seems to like that, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Down on horsepower, old
Likes
car.
to be the underdog.
Heavy body.
Likes to be the underdog. And he came through, and he took a third-place finish. He drafted and passed at the start-finish line a young 17-year-old lady, young gal, and he had said he'd seen her earlier throwing a temper tantrum in the garage area with her cart, and her probably more than likely her dad as a crew chief, who knows. But she jumped out of the cart, and she was like, that was just incredible. That was so much fun, this, that, and the other thing. And he said he was so proud of her. You know, even though he passed her, he pulled his cart out of the way line and got himself disqualified so she could get third place because they gave trophies to the top three.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. I like Zach. Make sure you follow him on Facebook, Zach Rawlson Racing.
And one other thing that we didn't get to at the beginning of the show like we normally do, this past Friday, a local racer was laid to rest. Hasn't been in the racing for a little bit, but a drag racer by the name of John Griffith. A lot of you people, especially the drag race people, had known John. He had raced for years at Kearney and Scribner, and I mean all over the Midwest. He was racing everywhere, running a stock class car. And his brother had posted on Facebook a week ago that they had diagnosed him with leukemia and put him in hospice.
Jeez.
Just a sad deal that happened real quick.
Yeah, it's amazing how sometimes these guys can hang on for years, and other times they can be gone in the snap of a finger. So tough news there. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We appreciate everybody joining us. Again, thanks to Tyler Drueke and Jacob Hobscheidt for joining us. We're going to do our best to get Roy Armstrong on in a couple of weeks. The plan for next weekend, Ryan Jenkins, Jordan Grabowski, and Mike Densberger will be joining us next weekend. Kyle Burke's a couple of weeks away, so we're going to get him on the show to talk about that. Talk about his season championship. So
sounds
Ryan
like
Jenkins,
sounds
Jordan.
like you're going to have to talk about Kyle Burke, crew chief for his son, who was running down there at the kart shootout and had some success.
So Mike Densberger, Ryan Jenkins, and Jordan Grabowski going to be joining us next weekend on the Front Stretch. We appreciate you tuning in and listening to us for the first show in 2019. It's in the books. We'll do it again next weekend. For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been The Front Stretch on AM 590.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. Joe'sKarting.com for more information.
The official watering hole of the Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.